Howdy ho, and welcome to this video where we're going to be discussing how to regularly ovulate if you have PCOS, because it's such a common experience that many women with PCOS go through that they aren't regularly ovulating. So with this video, I'm going to talk about the exact science of how PCOS can stop your ovulating, what to do about it, and everything towards this topic, because I just get asked about this very, very regularly. And you have to remember too that ovulation is not just important if you're trying to conceive. I feel like a lot of women that I'm dealing with have been kind of told that, but you have to understand that ovulation and regular ovulation is very, very healthy for the female body. It's not just a fertility issue. Ovulation then allows your body to produce progesterone. Progesterone is incredibly important to your overall health. So if you can, ideally, you would be ovulating regularly. But we know PCOS can stop you from ovulating regularly. So let's talk about this in greater detail. Now, I made a lot of videos in the past around PCOS, the menstrual cycle, and all things like this. So I would suggest you watch all of my videos around this topic to get a really good grasp of it, because the science can get a little bit tricky. I obviously want to explain it to you in ways that is easy to understand, but if you're like me, you kind of got to hear things and see things multiple times before it starts really sinking in. But very simply, your menstrual cycle is controlled by the brain, and it does this with the ovaries, and it does it with hormones. So the start of your cycle, your brain will send down a hormone called FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. That very simply stimulates these follicles to start to mature. So these follicles in your ovaries will start to mature. Now, as they start to mature, these follicles release a hormone that gets picked up to your brain. Do you know what this hormone's called? This hormone is called estrogen. So your brain is sending down follicle stimulating hormone. These follicles are starting to mature. They're releasing estrogen. As they start to mature, the levels of estrogen goes up. Your brain picks up on this and says, okay, now I know there's going to be one follicle here fully matured. So it sends down a surge of another hormone, another pituitary hormone. Do you know what that's called? Right? It's called LH. Luteinizing hormone. It sends down a surge of LH, and that's what triggers ovulation. This mature follicle gets released up into the fallopian tube for possible fertilization. Then, after ovulation, there's something here that's called the corpus luteum that is produced, and it is now your source of progesterone. So you can see here now, these are the four main hormones we're looking at in the menstrual cycle. The communication between the brain and the ovaries. And we're talking about follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. So as we can see here, the menstrual cycle is controlled by hormones. It's hormonal. And as with everything within your body, it always needs balance. So for a healthy, regular menstrual cycle, you need hormonal balance. And remember that ovulation is just an event within the menstrual cycle. So ovulation is an event, and for a healthy menstrual cycle, you need hormonal balance. So can you see now where we're going to have issues? Because PCOS creates hormonal imbalances. So if we're looking at the possible causes, the imbalances that will then trigger you to have irregular menstrual cycles, we're looking at high testosterone, high luteinizing hormone, high DHEAS. You don't have to have all of these high. You may have one, you may have a couple. Or other possible causes will be high prolactin, so hyperprolactinemia. You got to think about that. Prolactin is the hormone produced while you're breastfeeding to bring on breast milk. So when you're breastfeeding, it's not the best time to have another child because you're already raising a little baby. All your resources are going to that. So it's very amazing how the female body works, is when you're producing prolactin, it will shut off your menstrual cycle. So if you just produce too much prolactin normally, that can shut off your menstrual cycle. Low thyroid, so hypothyroidism, can mess up your menstrual cycle, and also too much stress. But specifically, we're looking at PCOS, we're looking at high testosterone, high luteinizing hormone, or high DHEAS. And I put this little thing here because we know high luteinizing hormone can then also drive high testosterone as well. So if we're needing this hormonal balance to drive a healthy menstrual cycle and to be ovulating regularly, because ovulation is an event of the menstrual cycle, but PCOS is creating these hormonal imbalances, we're going to have issues here. And this is what many women I speak with are facing on a daily basis. So we know this now. And as I'm always talking about, there are different types of PCOS, which can be really confusing, because I was speaking to a woman just yesterday who was telling me how her doctor told her that there is only one type of PCOS. Now, this woman was only weighed 52 kilos, right? She didn't have insulin resistance. She didn't struggle with weight at all. She didn't have any symptoms of insulin resistant PCOS, but her doctor still tried to prescribe her metformin and told her that she now has a higher risk of type 2 diabetes, which I believe is completely false, because she doesn't have insulin resistant PCOS, right? So there are different types. And when I talk about types of PCOS, I'm simply mean there are different underlying drivers causing your PCOS symptoms. So we're looking at high insulin. So insulin resistance, which is the main cause of PCOS. Inflammation, we know inflammation can directly result in high testosterone levels. We're talking stress, so too much adrenal activity, high cortisol, and also coming off the pill, which is a far less frequent type of PCOS. So as we can see here now, we need to know what is your driver of your PCOS. This is why in my VIP group, I'm always telling women, look, if you can, book in with your doctor, get your test results back, because it's so common that you'll go and get diagnosed with PCOS, but your doctor doesn't explain your test results to you, doesn't tell you anything about it. You need that information, because depending on which driver you have or which type of PCOS you have will determine what strategy or what plan you need to put in place to balance these underlying imbalances. So work with your doctor to find out, like, do I have insulin resistance? Do I have elevated inflammation, which usually shows up on blood tests as CRP, C-reactive protein? What is my cortisol levels? What is my DHEAS levels, right? That's an adrenal androgen hormone. They will tell you, and those tests will show you what type of PCOS you have. And then once you know that, you can create your PCOS plan, which will involve nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management, and supplementation. So for example, and I've made videos on this before, so make sure you watch those videos. So nutrition, let's say you have insulin resistant PCOS. So nutrition, you're looking at lowering your overall carbohydrate intake to 20 to 30% of your overall diet, reducing your sugar intake, processed sugar, fruit is still okay. With exercise, you're looking at focusing on resistance exercise, because that has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. You're looking at creating yourself a sleep routine, managing your stress levels, and specifically here, smart supplementation. You're looking at taking supplements that improves insulin sensitivity. So for you, it'd be inositol, N-acetylcysteine, and magnesium. Well, let's say inflammation is your driver. So there, your main focus needs to be on reducing your inflammation levels. So nutrition, you're going to be following an anti-inflammatory diet. Exercise, you'll still be doing resistance exercise, but this is where restorative exercise comes into play to reduce those inflammation levels. And supplementation, now you're probably more looking towards supplements like turmeric, omega-3, with all those anti-inflammatory effects. So by understanding what your driver is and taking the necessary actions, right, you will start to alleviate and correct these underlying hormonal imbalances, which will then allow you to achieve hormonal balance, which will let you have a regular menstrual cycle. And if you're having a regular menstrual cycle, ovulation will be occurring regularly. Now, you're going to have many questions about this video, I know. So either ask me below, whether this is on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, or our Instagram page. Ask me all the questions you like. or send me an email, info@drewbairdfitness.com, and ask me as many questions you have about your specific situation, because I can give you the science here, but every woman's specific situation may be slightly different. So hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it shed a little bit of light on this video, whether you're trying to conceive or you're just trying to have a regular menstrual cycle, you just want to ovulate regularly because you know the health benefits of it. I just want to give you this information to give you a little bit of hope that you can do this. You can regulate your body. You can take your health back, because you really can. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on our next one.